All right, everyone. Today we have Asobs here, who to me is a P2E expert. He actually runs a channel himself covering live streaming games, and I'm probably butchering it, so I'm gonna let him introduce himself. I'll put his links and social medias and everything so that you guys can follow him. So welcome to the channel, Asobs. Am I saying that correctly?
Yep, you got it perfect. Thanks, Joe, for having me. I'm excited to get into some NFTs. I know you have a lot of information about that and explain how that can be used in gaming.
Yeah. So before we jump into all the gaming stuff, like tell us how you got into it, when you got into it, and anything else about yourself.
Yeah, so for me, I'm a lifelong gamer. I've been gaming forever. I used to do some competitive gaming with
Oh,
things like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I don't know if you're familiar with that game, but that game I was top 500 in the US in that one. I've done some other competitive stuff with like Rainbow Six Siege, some different shooter games.
yeah, I know.
So big gamer, thousands and thousands of hours gaming. And one thing I've always found as a problem with gaming is that you're spending all this time, but there's nothing that you're getting back in return. You might get a cool skin in the video game, but if you're playing a Call of Duty, the next Call of Duty comes out next year and that skin's gone. It's worthless. So I found that you're not really getting anything out of it. Even when you go competitive, there's limited money unless you're literally top tier player. And so for me, getting into this, I was thinking, how can you actually earn money playing video games? Obviously, you could become a YouTuber, you could become a part of a big competitive team that does esports tournaments and stuff, but otherwise, there's no real way for the average person to make money from gaming. And that's where I stumbled across crypto, NFTs, and then the possibility that comes with combining those with gaming. And that's really what got me started. I got big into it back in July, June, July, and started researching, learning a ton about the potential of it, and really seeing where this could go.
Got it. So that wasn't too long ago, June, July. That's this year.
Yep, somewhat recently for this NFT gaming stuff. I did very little beforehand. There was a game called Lost Relics. Played it maybe 2 or 3 hours, but it just wasn't my style. It was like a dungeon crawler style game. So just very much not my style. You go through a dungeon, you kill monsters, and you get a little bit of loot, but it just wasn't my thing. I like shooters, I like strategy games, that kind of stuff.
Got it. So you never wanted to go to the social media route, like the Twitch, like the YouTube, like Pokimane and Ninja route.
No, never for me. And I really only started my channel recently because I see there's a huge lack of information in this space. And
Yep.
that's where I wanted to come in and provide that information to people like your viewers and other people who might be interested in this topic.
Yeah, me too. So I mean, you got started not too long ago. I started even later. I mean, I got into NFTs in February through NBA Top Shot, but I don't really count that as true like deep dive in NFTs. So I really got my first like Ethereum NFTs in late August. So I even started later than you. So I heard about Axie Infinity, and for me, Axie was just kind of out of reach because I heard price wise and just how big the ecosystem's grown. So that's why I never stepped foot into it. And I actually have a lot of questions, or a few questions, because I invested into some P2E projects for NFTs that hasn't even launched yet. So there's probably some hurdles that you already know of true. I'm not sure if there's a difference between, P2E games on the regular. I'm sure there's some regular ones now with NFTs, but I think you can help answer a lot of questions for my viewers because I don't think there are a lot of gamers. Some of them probably are, and they can make some money. Especially we hear people outsourcing this, to the Philippines or Africa, and they're building like substantial income from this, or is it substantial income still? Then they would be very interested because on my channel is about DeFi, NFTs, and ultimately how to retire early and create income. So that's kind of who I cater to.
Yeah, and I watched quite a few of your videos preparing for this, and yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. I think the big thing to help connect the dots is understanding NFT utility. So the idea that an NFT could be used for a pass. So I have an example is there's a Discord server that I'm a part of where
Right.
to get certain roles, they have a bot that scans your wallet to see if you own certain NFTs that then unlocks certain channels. So there's a lot of utility purposes for NFTs, and that's really where NFT gaming is then these gaming assets become NFTs with utility where it's not just, and there definitely is a place, so don't get me wrong here, there's definitely a place for those profile pictures, those kind of NFTs.
Yeah.
But with the video game, the play to earn NFTs, the big thing is that I could take that character like an Axie, and I know we'll get into Axie more later, but I could take like an Axie and then I could have it as a profile pic if I want, but it's also going to let me play a game and battle against other people and get an experience out of my NFT.
Great. Yeah. If you want to dive into Axie or any other game, please let me know. So the NFT projects that I've invested into and gotten the PFP for now, I haven't played at one beta game at all. So how does the gaming work? I know that you can authenticate your NFT in there. How does one make money from it?
I think the best way is in a video game normally, there's some kind of farming mechanic, right? So I need to kill this monster, but to kill the monster, I need potions. I need a sword. I need some armor. I need these different things to make that possible. What NFT gaming does is it allows me to be a blacksmith or a potion brewer, and then I sell you the potion. So let's say there's a big monster you want to go battle. You're going to need all those things. And you yourself, you could go collect the herbs to make the potions, collect the ores to make the armor. You could do all of it, or you could outsource just like you do in normal life of, you don't go cook every meal yourself. You go to a restaurant, kind of a concept. And so you could have somebody like me as a potion brewer, where I would get the herbs, organize all of that, have supply chains in some of these economies where it's just full depth supply chains, where then I provide you that potion, you give me real money. And then what happens is when you go kill that big monster, maybe he drops a super sweet looking piece of armor, some cool cosmetic piece, right? Yeah. And then there's a lot of people, it's super rare because the monster's hard to kill. There's a lot of people who want that cosmetic piece, so they pay money for it. And that's seen with all kinds of stuff, from the NFTs that are used for profile pictures, from things like Fortnite even that are not NFTs, where people will pay $30 just to have a skin in the video game. And so you could take that concept where instead of the company behind Fortnite selling you the skin, it's me as a player earning that skin and then reselling it off to you. So it's just shifting who's providing and who's receiving the value of what's traditionally done in video games.
We don't need to dive too deep into it if it gets deep into a rabbit hole, but how does the game itself provide, I wouldn't say liquidity for me performing the blacksmith action? Who, I know the outside players would pay me for it, or is this something, an action that I do, or does the game itself provide the currency? How does that all work? How does the ecosystem work?
So it varies from game to game, and there's a lot of different ways they do it. Generally, there's generally two camps. So either there's a very basic, fully running, or I shouldn't say basic, a very basic level provided to you, where it's a fully run economy, where all they do is they give you the wood, the metal, the very base materials, and then it's up to the players to do everything else, all the way up to making the potions, armor, and killing the monsters like I explained. Yeah. There's that very basic level. And then there's other ones like Axie Infinity, for example, where I'll do a PvP match. So you and me will duke it out and fight with our Axies, our little creatures. And whoever wins that match is going to earn some cryptocurrency, some SLP is what it's called for Axie Infinity. Okay. And then with that SLP, then we can make more characters. In the future, they're going to add cosmetic things. So I can change the look. I could add like a cool scar, maybe an eye patch. And I would then take that SLP, that cryptocurrency I earned, and basically burn it, get rid of it. And so those are the two main forms. Either it's provided from the game ecosystem itself, and we're duking it out, competing for that limited pool, or we have a very base level where they provide some resources, and then it's up to the players to build out the rest of the economy.
I see. So in some games, there's like tokenomics to it. They have their own native token, and you can burn it for liquidity, or there's people that want to level up quicker and they'll buy the token to do more actions or have more accessories, things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. If you think of any way that you've been able to spend money, or basically any way you've been able to spend money, whether it's like a Candy Crush where you want to spend money to do more matches, you want to do a Clash of Clans game, and you want to level up your town hall and spend some gems. There's all those kind of things where you could transition all of that into an NFT. And what you do is you just make a small shift where instead of the game company revenue coming from the sale of the NFTs, you instead have them collect a marketplace fee on the transaction of NFTs.
So that's interesting. You're saying instead of minting NFTs for sale to get people in the game, you mean just have people play the game and in the back end somewhere kind of correlate those together in a marketplace?
Yeah. So instead of directly saying like, hey, I'll sell you this Santa outfit skin for this video game for $30, I say all of the players have a 1% chance of, when they open these loot boxes that they get from playing the game, they have a 1% chance of earning a Santa costume. So you don't have to pay to earn the costume. You do have to play. And that's where the P2E, the play to earn, comes in, is everybody's doing the matches. And so it's basically shifting where then the Santa box, instead of you paying directly for it, you're giving your time instead in exchange because you're playing the game. So instead of money, you're giving time to receive it. And then you, as the player, get to realize that value of reselling that Santa skin to somebody else.
I don't know. Did you always play these types of games? Because you mentioned, some competitive, some pretty competitive games that you were playing on a high level. How's that? How do you find your skills translate to, like, I don't know what type of games these are. Would you say, is it a MOPG more, or is it there's different types of games? I know, like you said, for a shooter, what type of games are you kind of excelling in, or that you see in this space right now?
Yeah, so right now there's a lot of games in development. And I know you mentioned that you're invested in some that are going to become play to earn games in the future. And there's a lot of that going on right now where there's some AAA studios getting into it. I believe Ubisoft is one of the latest ones to actually get involved, which is a huge gaming company, one of the top 10 gaming companies in the world, getting into NFTs now. But then you have some smaller gaming companies that are as well starting up their own unique one-off indie games. Axie Infinity is a card-based game. So closest comparison for a lot of people would probably be like a Hearthstone. And I've played that before, and that's definitely an interesting way to play. So for me, I'm very interested as some more battle royale type games, some more shooter games come out. I think that's where I'll have the most joy playing with my personal play style. But I also have fun playing Axie Infinity. I've put a good amount of time into it. Not crazy competitive or anything like that.
Is that like the game that you play the most, Axie Infinity? And do you have people outsourced for you as well?
Yeah, so great question. So Axie Infinity is, as far as the play to earn, the one I play the most. I have experimented with a couple other games. I'm testing out some right now to do some game reviews on. But Axie Infinity is kind of the bread and butter. And with Axie Infinity, I do actually have quite a few people that I outsource to play the game for me. So this is what's known in the Axie space as scholarships. So think of it as, you know, I feel like the best example for people who are not familiar to understand is everybody's familiar with the kid mowing the lawn for the neighborhood kind of business, right?
Yep.
And so the concept is, if you want to go mow the lawn, you need a lawnmower, right? And little Timmy or whatever, he can't go buy a full lawnmower. So what I do is essentially I'm renting out the lawnmower. In this case, I'm renting out the game assets, the NFTs, to these people.
Yep.
And then what they're doing is they're taking those game assets, the Axies in this case, and they're playing the game and they're earning the cryptocurrency, and then we do a revenue split because of that.
And does the NFT makes it more secure? Is it because it's authenticated through you, or is that could be done, even without NFTs?
NFTs definitely make it a lot easier. The big thing is I have multiple different wallets set up with one player per wallet basically, and I'll set up some NFTs in each wallet for each player. And it gets a little complicated as the technicalities of that, but through the NFTs, what's nice is I can give them a username and password for the game account. They can log in, they can play the game, but without the separate wallet information, they can't steal my NFTs. So it just helps add a layer of protection for me as a person using this, because obviously, even if without NFTs, if you were to rent, give somebody $1,000 worth of assets online, there's always the risk where they're anonymous, they're online, they could steal that money from you really easily. And NFTs enable, and crypto in general, blockchain in general, helps protect against that by having that separate wallet authentication and all that stuff.
Interesting. So it seems like there's different like inputs into the game where you have more control than the other. And is the rev share part, that's not part of blockchain because that'd be very difficult. Is that just something that you work out on the side with everyone?
Yeah, so the Axie team actually right now, they're working on making smart contracts where it'll be possible to integrate a revenue share. And I'm not super familiar with the technicalities because that hasn't come out yet. So I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. There is another game that is doing that right now, and that's a horse racing game. It's more of gambling, honestly. But it's basically, I could go on the marketplace, I could rent your horse from you, and anything that's earned during that rental period, maybe it's 24 hours, 7 days, whatever it is, then it automatically splits the revenue according to the agreed upon percentages.
That's awesome. Yeah, I heard something. So that I heard about Zed runs is so that's
Mhm.
probably something like that, right? Helping they can rent your breed your stud or whatever it is and breed them out. And
Yep, that's exactly it.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting because yeah, building that rev share into the blockchain will make it a lot easier. In terms of Axie Infinity or any other games, how big is like the ecosystem, that ecosystem of scholarships and or it could just be Axie itself. Like how much is being generated? Do you even know that number? It sounds like a lot. It sounds pretty lucrative.
Yeah, so I don't have a number as total as far as revenues, but I can actually share my screen here real quick and I'll show you some growth numbers from their latest development update. Okay, so let's get into some numbers here. So this was the most recent Axie Infinity development update. So this came out on December 9th right here. You guys can see that. Some of the key things I just want to point out here is as we were talking about growth. So Axie, this is a chart of daily active users in the game. And this starts back at May 1st. You can see this was, I believe at the time, the number right here is closer to like 50,000. And the game just started taking off. And right now we're starting to approach 3 million daily active users,
Gee, that's a
which,
lot.
yeah, it's a lot. And what's important to also note is Axie Infinity is not on the iOS App Store right now. So there's still a lot of growth potential to come from being able to get onto some of those platforms. So there's still a lot that can be done there. Um, Here's some numbers as far as the number of transactions. So this is comparing the Ronin blockchain, which is basically a separate blockchain that they built out for Axie Infinity.
Interesting.
And what's nice about this compared to Ethereum is, and I'm sure you've experienced this when you go to buy NFTs on Ethereum, is the gas fees can just be insane. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to go buy a $10 NFT because you're going to drop $50 on gas fees, maybe.
Oh, I've done
Um,
that.
yep, I've been there, done that too.
So the Axie team built out Ronin as like a layer two on Ethereum.
Yep. And so what's nice with this is there's no gas fees on the Ronin right now. They're going to be implementing some, but basically they're covering all the gas fees for the market at the time. So that's really sweet. It enables you to actually go buy $100 Axie and not be just totally killed by the gas fee. So that helps make it more available to people, as well as if we scroll down here, they got here's some information just about some upcoming updates and things
So
like
they had
that.
in-person events. I saw you scroll through some pictures. They had
Oh
like
yeah.
in-person meetups already.
Yeah, so they're actually hosting
Wow.
quite a few. So here was a talk. Right here was a creator contest that they hosted in the Philippines. So they're definitely hosting esports. They actually have somebody on their team dedicated to dealing with esports and content creators. So they're definitely growing out their sphere of influence pretty quick here. Yeah, Axie is going to be adding a lot of new features like land gameplay. That's one of the big ones. And this is one of the use cases for NFTs that I really wanted to highlight in gaming is
Yeah.
that I could buy land in a game. And if we go back to, and Axie Infinity is not necessarily this, but if we go back to an example of you wanting to kill a monster, some rare monster, let's say he's on my land plot. Well, he drops 100 gold pieces or something like that for you, right? What happens then is since I have the land, I can get some kind of fee of you killing that monster on my land. Maybe it's 5 gold, 10 gold, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and for owning that land. So all the revenue that's made on my land, I could get a fee of that. I could rent it out. So they show some buildings right here. Let's say you wanted to put down a house. You could put down a house on my land and I
Yeah.
could rent out that space of land just like you would in the real world. So there's a lot of potential here. And I think land's one of the biggest cases for NFTs and video games that I am personally very bullish on.
Yeah.
Because like in Axie, the character strength could change as they balance different abilities, they change stats, they could mess with a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, land is going to be worth a lot, just like in the real world.
Definitely. So that's not out yet. That's coming up for Axie.
Yeah, so that'll probably, they've delayed it. It's supposed to come out here in Q4 of 2021. My guess would be end of Q1 in 22, maybe Q2. But they've delayed it because they want to make sure that it's, knock our socks off kind of quality. They're very much so about not putting anything out until it is as refined as possible. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I've invested into or bought a PFP NFT from a game company that a lot of projects make promise of land as being something that's highly touted. And we know this from Decentraland and Sandbox and all that stuff. So interesting stuff.
mhm. So yeah, that was something I wanted to highlight. Another thing that I feel like is worth highlighting is if you guys are interested more in Axie Infinity, they do have their white paper here. And there's a couple of things here that I do want to highlight. So this is a third-party source that made this. We go to revenue streams and let's scroll down here. Okay, so and again, going into the numbers here. If we look since basically July of this year, okay, this is roughly when I got into Axie Infinity. Right here, this is showing in terms of US dollars, the revenue numbers that the Axie treasury has collected on a month-by-month basis. If you were to add this all up and put this at an annualized rate, you're looking at basically over $2 billion of revenue in a year, which is just insane because some of the top 10 gaming companies, I believe, based on the last rankings I saw, this would put the Axie Infinity at between the 10th and 15th top gaming company in the world.
Wow. When you talk about treasury, is that through their sales of NFTs and in-game play?
Yeah. So as far as this revenue, we can actually see a breakdown if we go up here.
Okay.
So it breaks it down. I'll just simplify it. So there was actually pre-sales when the game first came out. You could buy these NFTs in a pre-sale. The land, when they were selling the land, they have a marketplace fee. So any transaction, and I was kind of talking about that earlier, where any transaction that's done on the market, they collect a 5% fee or 4.5%, basically 5%. And then whenever you breed a new Axie, whenever you make a new NFT creature in the game, they collect a fee from that as well. And that's accumulated here in the treasury.
Yeah, it seems like the lion's shares is in the breeding. So either people really like it or yeah, that seems to garner 346,000 ETH.
Yeah, it's no joke.
So breeding seems to be very important in the game too. Is that to level up or is that just to give you free NFTs? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so I can actually go over to the marketplace and I can talk you through an example here. So there's a bunch of different types of Axies. So I'll just keep this very simple. So let's just say we want to make a plant type Axie, okay? And we're just gonna ignore a lot of this information and we're just gonna do it very simple. So let's say we wanted to get something like this, regardless of if it's good or not. We wanted to make a new one. What you would do is you would take this one and maybe this one. So we take these two and we'd actually breed them together to be able to make a third NFT. And that would be a brand new NFT then. And you can see right here, this shows an example where this one had these two parents. These were the two parent NFTs that then created this Axie. But then this Axie then had three children that were these different stats and abilities and stuff like that. So that's where the breeding fee comes in, is when I want to make a new one, there's a cost associated with that, and they collect that as treasury revenue.
Okay, so I understand the traits and the breeding because I got a little bit of that from CryptoKitties, but this is good knowledge for new viewers. So breeding is something that can give you, different traits and abilities. If I was a new person coming in, what's like the barrier of entry? Is it $100, $50 to actually have fun in the game? Number one, which is I'm not sure how important that is nowadays, or number two, to start making some monetization.
Yeah, so I feel like based on the recent numbers I've seen right now, the best way to enter is to buy a team. So there's a couple different categories. So there's people who do breeding, people who just make new NFT characters and resell them. There's people who do scholarships, which is what I mainly do. But if you're first getting into it, and this is what I did when I first got into it, is just buy a team, play around with it, experiment with the game, get used to how the game is and understand the game. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what number is shown here on the price value of an NFT, because if the game's garbage, because we've seen this a lot, and I'm sure you can attest to this, especially in the NFT space that you've seen, there's a lot of NFTs that are just stupid prices where it just doesn't make any sense. It's just insane. And especially in some of this gaming where you'll see land for a game that nobody's really interested in for $200,000. And it's like, at the end of the day, if the game's not good, the NFT is going to be worthless. And that's the key thing that's different with this versus some of the other NFTs that you're used to, is that if the game is bad, the NFT is going to be worthless. If the game's good, there's going to be a lot of demand for the NFTs. The NFT value is going to go up. So what I would recommend is buy a team, play around, test the game. It's going to be about $600 to get a really solid team. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there about recommended beginner teams. So if your viewers wanted to get into it, I recommend checking out one of those videos. Right now, something that's strong is if they looked up bird, beast, plant. That's 3 different Axie types. That's a team comp. That's one that's really strong. Again, about $600. You can get in. It's somewhat easier for beginners to pick up. And you can also actually hit some of the top brackets to get some of the higher rewards with that team if you get really skilled too. So
when you say get a team is So when I think team, I think I'm joining a team, or is that an item in the game?
So a team in Axie is 3 of these NFT characters.
Okay.
So if I wanted to do, I would get a plant and then maybe a beast, which is one of these guys, and
Yeah.
then a bird, which is the plant beast bird team that I was mentioning. You need to get something like this. And then there's certain builds that are stronger. You can see we have different cards, different abilities, all that. There's information online on YouTube. It's probably the easiest way to find it of what's good and what's bad for this. But you
Yeah.
put together 3 of these Axie NFT characters, and that would be a team that then you could battle against other people's teams.
I see. Okay. So the barrier entry could be lower, but you recommend searching on YouTube, and you'll form like an okay team for like $600.
Yeah, because you can see right here, this is what they call as the floor price, the lower
Yeah.
price. And the problem with these is like this one
They get
just
killed.
simply is not good. And so you don't really want
He looks
this
like
one.
he'll get beat up. That
Yeah,
guy looks like.
he's gonna have a rough time. And yeah, he's cheaper, but you're not gonna have fun. You're not gonna
Okay.
earn much, and it's just gonna be a bad experience. So I would recommend spending a little bit more, right in that $600 range. Get a solid team, and then worst case, you can always turn around and sell it in a week if you don't like it for just a little bit of loss.
Right. I think that's important for a lot of speculators, and also new people coming on board, is understanding, you want them to stay long enough to see the benefits of it, but at the same time, don't waste time. So that's good to know that they can get out and not lose much around the price of a PlayStation 5. And that's always kind of been my gripe with, I don't think it's a gripe. I just think that it has to have a use case like Axie Infinity, because if I can make my cost basis back, like how long do you think with that team, would I recoup 50% in like a month? Like what was your some thoughts on some of that? If I play like, I don't know, 2 hours a day.
So if you were to play Axie and you bought yourself a team,
Yeah.
you earned about an average, which would be 150 SLP, or the cryptocurrency. It's valued at roughly 3 cents per cryptocurrency right now. So times on your 50, you're talking about $4.50 a day.
Okay.
You spend $600. So you're going to be in that realm of, was that 130 days roughly to break even, or to make back all that you put in, assuming your NFTs were worthless, which is not realistic. Your NFTs are going to have some value, but that's generally how people look at it, is how long does it take for me to earn enough revenue to pay for the whole team, assuming the team became worthless? And obviously you'd still have the value of the team at the end of the day, but that would be your timeline to make enough revenue. You'd make $600 then in 130 days.
I see. That's not too crazy. I mean, and for me, it's good content. Maybe I should start becoming a P2E channel. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that with you, Asobs. Maybe I have a team and then have it underneath your umbrella. And is that the reason why people start outsourcing this? Because I don't want to say this the wrong way. Does the gameplay get a little bit mundane or just repetitive? And that's why, or is it because there's a lot of opportunity? That's why they kind of scale it out with third parties.
The main reason, I'm going to pull up the SLP chart real quick to show you guys the pricing. So the main reason that people are scaling and sending this out, and you can see just real quick before I get into that, back in July, the price per coin was up at 30 cents. And so 150 of this was worth a lot more then than it is now at 3 cents. And this is because they've been rebalancing the economy. There's been more SLP minted than burned. So the total supply keeps getting inflated, but they're fixing those issues right now. But I think the main thing why people are outsourcing is especially around like a 6 cent price range, which if you go back to a 30-day chart, we were at 6 cents 30 days ago. It's been a rough month for Axie because some of those imbalances. Well, that's true. That's true. It has been rough for everyone in crypto, not just Axie. But around that 6 cent price range, what's awesome is somebody in a developing country like the Philippines, for example. That's where most of my people are from. People that play my accounts, I mean.
Yeah.
In the Philippines, if they wanted to go get a construction job, they'd be making about $350 a month on a construction job, versus at the about 6 cents price range, they could be playing Axie 2 hours a day and be making $300 a month instead of grinding, back-breaking work 8 hours a day. So it's a lot more convenient. It's a lot better pay per time spent for people in the Philippines and other country. And that's why they're outsourcing. Is one of the rules of Axie is 1 account per player. So you can't, even though you could only play maybe 2 hours a day, you couldn't go get 4 accounts and play 8 hours a day. It's against the rules. So you would have to outsource to other people if you wanted to get more accounts.
I see. As that's what's happening, there's a lot of people with multiple accounts, and the economies, the number is a little bit smaller, and because of the optimization opportunities here.
There's not so many with multiple accounts. They've been banning those and getting rid of those because they are pretty strict about the one account per person. And that's what I mean by multiple accounts. But there are a lot of people like myself who outsource, who make multiple accounts and then let tons of other people play. So right now I'm sitting at 93 people that play for me that I manage. And those are mainly in the Philippines right now. Philippines actually recently got hit pretty hard by a tsunami, a typhoon. So it's been pretty rough over there for them. But a lot of them have been playing with me for a while. I have some that have been playing with me since back in July. And there's some really amazing stories where I have a couple and their daughter who's in college. They ended up being able to buy a new house from the money that they playing a video game 2 hours a day each, which is just mind blowing.
You got me, because I like helping people. I give out a ton of free stuff. If I can help someone in another country create, wealth, like the way that you have, like that's pretty interesting. Not just beyond NFT games, just that's utility in real life that you're providing for people out there.
Yeah, and I think that's where this really has the potential to change the world. Honestly, you can enable people in these countries. All they need is a really simple, $200 smartphone. They can log in. You can have people like me who rent out these accounts to them. They get a revenue split and they're able to change their life, make money that, like I said, would be equivalent of 8 hours of backbreaking work for sitting and playing a video game for 2 hours. So has a potential to change lives. We've had so many amazing other stories. Like one of my assistant managers who helps me oversee and helps organize the teams and everything. He was struggling to feed his daughter over there in the Philippines, and giving him this account, giving him the opportunity to be in a leadership role. He's making enough now where he can afford, keeping his daughter. Really, at the end of the day, it was going to be like he had to give up his daughter because he couldn't afford it, which is just heartbreaking. But through this, he's able to feed his daughter, feed himself, provide for his daughter, send her to school, do a lot of amazing things that he couldn't before.
How much can someone make on a monthly or annual basis in the United States from either one themselves or with a team of people from overseas? And you could just feel free to give ballpark numbers too if you want.
So it depends. So we'll give a number on a per team basis. So that way, your viewers could scale up, if they wanted to buy 10 teams, 100 teams, however many teams they wanted to buy. So per team, you can expect that 150 SLP per day for them to earn. Okay. And so if we just plug in real quick, they're going to be making total account revenue. And then you do some kind of profit split. People do all kinds of varieties, 50%, 30%, a wide range of profit splits. But, let's just say for round easy numbers, you're taking home $2 a day from your account. $2 a day, you're going to make about $60 a month playing the game. And you'll be paying it back then. If you did $2 a day and you had, 600, you'd be paying it back in about 300 days. You'd be making $600. So it's nothing crazy right now. And again, that's because SLP prices are at all-time lows right now. Crypto's been hammered. I do expect the prices to basically go up to 6 cents to 9 cents range when they're pushing out that land update I showed you. They're redoing the entire battle system, changing the graphics, updating everything. That's going to make the game really beautiful going forward. But long term, I think you'll see it at that 6 to 9 cents price range. So it really depends as to where you see it going, all that kind of stuff. But based on current numbers today, you could take home pretty consistently at least $2 a day, probably a little bit more playing it. And that's if you outsourced it. If you played this team yourself, you get this whole 460. So it depends.
How many hours do you do it? How many hours does it take to make that 150 a day?
It takes about 2 hours on average from what I've seen.
That's not horrible for some kids. No. They watch that on YouTube. My niece and nephew, they probably do 2 hours of YouTube.
Oh yeah. And I think the important thing is, for us in the United States, it's not a lot, right? To be able to make like $2 an hour. But the thing is, the difference is you could be playing Call of Duty and make $0 an hour. So it depends on how you look at it. And at the current price point, I would say if you wanted to play it yourself, you need to look at it more of playing it for fun, not to make money necessarily. I would say making money is the bonus on the side, and it's definitely an important factor. But it shouldn't be the focus if you wanted to play it right now. If you wanted to outsource and, you know, get some ROI, I can actually pull up some numbers here in a second on that, but you'd be looking at like 120% annual return if you compounded and did some of that kind of stuff. So ROI numbers can get really sweet if you outsource it. But if you're looking at it for yourself, don't necessarily look at it and think, oh, it's less than 15 bucks an hour, I can make more somewhere else. The difference of what we're comparing to is you paying to play Call of Duty and getting literally nothing back in return. So in my opinion, if you enjoy the game and have fun with it, because I do think the game is fun, then it feels like a better deal to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I wasn't even thinking as far as, yeah, I'm thinking pretty far in terms of scalability. Like I can see a bunch of whales or DAOs coming in here and just trying to crush it. But I was talking more about even some younger kids like my niece and nephew, where they spend so much time on social media and they're not making anything. I mean, they spend an hour playing and they can make 60 bucks a month for a young kid. That's actually a lot of money. It's not for us as adults, but for young people that's playing a game and you're making some money. So a good idea there, Asob, is just get my nieces and nephews hooked on this game with my NFTs.
Exactly. There you go. Now you're on the right track there.
Okay, I got some more advanced questions. I have a friend who, like you, is outsourcing. He has a lot of people as well. He has some questions for you. You don't mind me rattling them off, and we can either
go for it.
Cut it off. Yeah, so that's his question. So how you feel right now in the state of the game, because there's a lot of FUD because the land was pushed.
Yeah, so we touched on that earlier, and I can swap back over to that where they were talking about the land gameplay update and it being pushed back. Personally, I feel like it's going to be a rough for the next month, but after that, I see them making some changes to really help turn the game around. They've grown their staff, and I think the numbers in here, let me just check real quick. I believe they've gone from 20 employees to over 60 right now.
Wow, that's a small outfit, 20 employees.
Here we go. Last 3 months, they've gone from small team of 35 to more than 80. So a little bit different numbers, but similar ideas that they've over doubled their team in the past 3 months. So they're growing with what they're going to be able to push out, the timeline that they're going to be able to meet. They're going to get more content out faster, better content, all that kind of stuff. So I think the next month is going to be some fear, uncertainty, and doubt because there's no major updates going to be coming in the next month or so. And as you've seen with crypto overall, if crypto overall keeps tanking, then it's going to keep hurting Axie Infinity as well. But once those big updates do come out, I see, like I said, I see this really going back to something like a 6 to 9 cent price range because there was quite a bit of stability around that range here for a while.
Yeah, it definitely looks that way. Yeah, and from 35 people, wow, such a small outfit handling $2 billion in a treasury is absolutely amazing, by the way. Okay, so his next question is a very long one. I'll read it to you, answer at the end. He says, a lot of managers have not received their initial investment back if they invested in July, but still believe in a project. But people are also mad because G-Hose, I don't know who that is, talks about how we are family, and even if we lose money, we will get through it. We will get through it. Some people believe, some are angry. It's also important to note, meta changes can cost someone thousands of dollars, so it's scary for investors. So I know I said a mouthful there. If you need me to read it again, please let me know.
Okay, I think I got it all, but if I missed something, let me know and I can circle back on anything. So first thing I want to address is those who've invested since July. Like I said, I invested starting in July. So when I started getting into this, a team cost was $1,500 a piece. Ooh. Now they're worth 600. So big drop in value, not getting the ROI back on those yet. As SOP price has been dropping, there's definitely been some of that fear that I've been feeling and frustration. But the nice thing for me is I kind of foresaw that this was going to be happening. I mean, if we go over here to a 1 year, right? And you look at July, let's see, right around, oh boy, yeah, I picked a great time to start investing right around here. So look at this. And at this time, you just look at what's on the left half of the screen. I could see this is obviously a height. There's a lot lower price ranges in here. I was thinking we'd drop around that 10 cent price range is kind of where I thought things were going to go. I didn't think we were going to get this low. But I did foresee it's going to get lower. I'm investing at a really high point. It's not going to look this great in the future. And so what I did, I started dollar cost averaging. So I started with 5 teams. Then, prices went down to about this 15 cent range in August, bought another 10 teams. Then it dropped down to about 10 cents, bought another 20 teams. And then just in the past month, I've bought the other 60-ish teams. So it's been dollar cost averaging as it keeps getting lower and lower, because I do expect it to go back up a little bit. And I was prepared for the drop. So that's my thoughts on that, is if you wait it out, and we'll actually, just to really answer it, let me see if I can switch my share screen here real quick. So what I have here is
Oh,
something
I
that I
love
feel like,
spreadsheets. I love
yeah,
it.
I love spreadsheets too. I actually just was recording this, and I'll release something about this. So you guys are getting a sneak peek, because this won't be coming out here for a little bit. But here's if we take something like pricing right now. So we're right around, at the time I was doing this, 3.5 cents. Right now we're at 3 cent SLP. So basically what this is saying is if you started with 10 teams and you compounded on a monthly basis. So you basically you waited until your balance was high enough. And this is also saying team cost is at 750 instead of 600. So it's being a little bit generous with team cost.
Yep.
As well as saying, and this kind of addresses the balance change issue. This is what this is doing, is saying that your team at the time of selling is going to be worth 70% of what you paid for it. I had quite a few teams that I bought back in July. They were a certain team build. There were 2 aquas and a plant, for a little technical information on that, but they ended up nerfing those. Basically, they made them really bad in the game. Each of those was originally about $300 per NFT. They dropped to 200 in a few days. So I lost quite a bit of money from those balance changes. And I feel like the best way to diversify is there's quite a few viable different team builds. And I made the mistake of going super heavy on one instead of diversifying across a couple different team builds. So I would say that's the best way to insulate yourself. And that's what I'm doing now, to help protect against balance changes in the future. But this does make an adjustment for that as well in this sheet. And a lot of information here. So just a quick and dirty of it is, again, you're compounding monthly here. So this is showing per weekly basis. What's the revenue that you're getting from your 10 teams, all that kind of stuff. At the end of a year, if you just kept reinvesting, or sorry, let's go back up here. You spent 7,500. You're going to be negative because in theory, your Axies are reselling for less for a while. But at the end of the year, your Axie total value is going to be at 16,275. So, and then you're also going to have a little bit of cash right here that's left over that you didn't put into a team because it's not enough in this example. So total, you're going to end with $16,887 after a year when you put in $750, which gives you an ROI of about 125% on the year, which is really solid. As well as if you stop compounding at a year, now every week you're getting $500 when you originally only were getting closer to this $130 per week. So the
It's better
important
than S&P 500.
Yeah, it definitely is 120. And this is at the lower SLP prices. I mean, I also did another one at the 6 cents, very similar idea. You're compounding monthly, all that. At the end, you're at $36,000 worth of teams, which results in an ROI of pretty close to 400% on an annualized basis.
Yeah.
So
that's really good.
Yeah. And again, this is adjusting for assuming that your teams, right after you buy them, lose 30% of value. So I think the important thing is to look at it like this. And I know we did a very simple breakdown earlier, and I was kind of explaining that of you can take the revenue per day or revenue per week and then divide by the team cost to get the number of days to make back. But that doesn't account for team value, all those kind of factors. And this adjusts for that a little bit more.
I see. When the gameplay advances in terms of your team, the amount of SLP doesn't rise. It's always maxed out at 150.
So it can change if you get better. So let's switch again real quick. Here we go. So you can see here the arena mode SLP win per MMR bracket. So this is like a ranking points, a trophy points, some of that kind of concept. So depending on where your rank is in the game, you're getting a different amount of SLP per arena win. So if you are more competitive and you are better, you could earn a lot more. And you can do 20 of these matches a day. Obviously, you're not going to win all of them, so you might lose half. That's roughly how people do the math on these. But 150 tends to be that 150 SLP a day tends to be what I've seen with the 93 teams I have, a pretty accurate average of what we tend to be able to perform at.
I see. So you can actually lose SLP if you perform bad in a day.
Yeah. I mean, if you're really bad, we've had a couple who've actually been in this under 800 MMR bracket. They get literally nothing every single day. And those tend to be the people who either cheated on our application or didn't really know what they were getting themselves into and were overwhelmed or something like that. Tends to be, and it does happen.
And how many hours of management a week or a month would you say you put into managing your team?
So I have 4 assistant managers
Okay.
who help make it a lot easier and take the time load off. And so I maybe put in an hour a day on average. So it's nothing too extreme.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, and you have a pretty built out outfit too. So people getting started would not be spending an hour a day. They'd be definitely getting their feet wet. What's
Oh
like the
yeah.
learning curve? Is it you can hit the ground running and set up everything within a month's time, multiple teams, or is it just a longer learning curve than that?
So there definitely is a strong learning curve. And like you said, you do spend a lot more time initially. One of the reasons why I spent a lot more time is there weren't the same tools that I had available that I do now.
Mm,
And everybody has access to them now, but there simply weren't tools like now there's things where I can enter in the wallet info and it'll track on a daily basis for me how much they're earning, what their rank is at any given time, what the MMR points that they have are, all that kind of information. And before it used to be you had to manually go in and check each one.
mm,
So having the system where it just has a dashboard showing everybody with all that information, averages, all that saves a ton of time.
yeah.
As well as like I used to answer individual questions in Discord DMs from everybody. Now we have announcements channel, we have a ticket tool system, which creates a private channel in the Discord. And then any of the admins can go, or any of the managers can go and answer the question of the person. So it doesn't all have to go through me. So a lot of it's definitely been simplified through scale. But I was able to just go on YouTube, spend maybe 3 or 4 hours getting a better understanding of what I need to do. Then you can go out, buy the NFTs, and start having a team within a day if you really wanted to.
Nice. I would probably scour and spend a lot of time on YouTube, your YouTube channel, to learn some of these basics. And is your YouTube channel just to document your journey? Or are you looking to educate the masses? What's the idea behind your channel?
So the idea behind my channel is really to try and provide a as non-biased of a perspective as I can. And one thing I've seen within really the play to space in general, but also Axie Infinity, is it's either die-hard fans who would just say anything to hype up the project,
Mhm.
or you have just the absolute, 100% this thing's a scam, it's going to die tomorrow. There's no real in between of what's an honest, non-biased perspective of what's going on out there with the information, stuff like that. Like, for example, I'll actually give you a little bit of a teaser into one of the videos. So, oh, wow, they actually changed it. So that's good. As of the time I made my last video, which was, or sorry, my video 2 weeks ago, this showed the circulating supply at 3 million, or
Wow.
sorry, 3 billion.
Oh, 3 billion. Okay.
The issue, and now it's showing 22, which is the
Yeah.
correct number. This used to just show, so this is showing, and I'll actually show this link real quick. Of course, it's not going to work.
Of
Um,
course.
since Axie migrated to that Ronin network that I was telling you about,
Uh-huh.
this was taking the SLP that's on Ether scan, so on the
Yeah.
Ethereum network. It was not taking the SLP on the Ronin network.
I
And so
see.
the problem is now all the new SLP in the past, when they go to Ronin, it's 6 months basically, right before I
Mhm.
started, is all been added on the Ronin network. And so it wasn't tracking the value correctly. So everybody was thinking there's only 3 billion SLP, when in
Mm,
reality, there's 22 billion SLP. And this had been here. I mean, now we're, like I said, we're on 6 months that they've made this change and they finally updated it. Probably because they got a little bit of pressure from some other people making videos about it too. But there's some of that information that people just don't have access to.
mhm.
Either they don't know how to find it, they don't see it, some of that kind of stuff. And that's what I try and really expose and provide value. I know you mentioned Geos was another point that your friend brought up. He was
Yeah.
he's one of the core team members to Axie Infinity. He's basically like a PR guy, although doesn't always do the best with PR.
Okay.
But like I'm going to be doing, I have a video that's in the works right now of exposing all of his wallets and just letting people see all his wallet addresses, because there was a lot of accusations of insider trading and
Mm,
things like that going on, where he knew they were going to rebalance and make something really bad and make other things really good in the game. And
yeah.
there were accusations that he was then using that knowledge to just buy up a bunch of the ones that were going to be good before the change came out. So going to be putting out a video talking about
see.
that, but providing that transparency that nobody else is in a non-biased way, because I am heavily invested in the game. So I do want it to succeed, but also want to provide the actual facts.
What's your end goal with Axie Infinity or maybe other games that you haven't talked about yet? Is it to really scale it here, be the kind of like the SME here, the subject matter expert here? What's your pretty much like your goal for 2020? You could go 2022.
Yeah, so for 2022, my goal is to really take that spreadsheet I showed you, keep compounding, reinvesting for about a year out, and then reassess where is the state of Axie Infinity, as well as hope to take that model into some other games where I can provide value for, again, I think it's huge being able to provide value to people in third world countries where you could literally, I mean, I can't overstate the impact that it has being able to just change somebody's life with a couple of bucks a day. And it's just amazing to me and just mind blowing as well that they're literally playing a video game 2 hours a day and making more than working a construction job 8 hours a day. That's just insane to me. And so my goal is to really compound that investment, grow it as much as possible, hopefully make a lot of money. I mean, that's what it's about at the end of the day, but also help a lot of people. I am looking towards some other games as well with land and some of those other concepts. Like I said, trying to take this scholarship or renting model basically into other games to provide that for other people in other games as well.
Got it. Yeah, I think you're doing a service because there's a lot of people don't understand PDE games like me and also NFTs, and you kind of bridging that. And it's a space that you're well versed in. You've been in competitive gaming, so I can see you doing so much, for the space. So I'm really happy to have a collab with you here. So I have like last few questions from our friend here, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I think this is more a comment than it is a question, but I'll read it all and then we could kind of decipher it. He says, everyone's hyped on land and V2. I guess that's the version 2. And there will be good future use for it. And I'm not sure if this question, he goes, are they going to implement a free version of land so people can learn the game before paying? So I guess we can stop there because that first 2 sentences is very confusing to me.
Yeah, so what he's referencing is the land that we talked about, as well as I was alluding to it, where they're going to be changing the game. So they're going to be adding, they're going to be redoing the game. And that's what this origin is. So here's actually, we can just show this real quick. And I got the sound meter. There we go. So this is where they're redoing the graphics of the game. They're redoing the visuals, visual effects, all this kind of stuff for the game and making it really pretty and new. They're going to be rebalancing. It's going to be a huge change. That's Battles V2 that he's referencing right there. In Land and Battles V2, there is going to be, and maybe this is what he's alluding to, there's going to be brand new storyline, non-blockchain starter Axies. And what they've talked about before is that this is basically a way for people to experiment and play the game without spending money. Because right now, if you want to get into Axie Infinity, like we were talking about earlier, you have to go spend $600 to get a good team, play the game, earn all that kind of stuff. What they've alluded to in interviews and what I think they're talking about here is the opportunity to get access to some free basic Axies that maybe you don't earn any crypto or very little crypto, but you can get into the game, experiment with it, test it out, all that for free. Yeah, so just touch on a couple of those. We did touch on some, so I'll just re-summarize real quick. I think the Beast Bird Plant team is one of the better ones right now. There's lots of videos about that. They call it BBP, Bird Beast Plant. So if you wanted to look up that, that's something that's really solid right now. As well as the Axie Maximalists. I was mentioning that a little bit earlier. That's kind of the term that people have deemed for it. It's those people who are, no matter what the developers do, they're walking on water, they're holier than holy, kind of a concept of this thing's going to the moon. It's the best thing since sliced bread concept. Yeah. And I did mention I'm doing a video on Jihos and his wallets, but a little bit of a spoiler, there is payments going to content creators that are not necessarily being disclosed. And I think that definitely has an impact, and that's not confirmed. I don't have confirmation as to what the payments are for. I do have the Ronin transactions, the blockchain transactions that the content creators are getting paid by the Axie Infinity team. So my guess and my suspicion is that there's some of that where they're being paid to come out super bullish for Axie Infinity. One example is one of the somewhat prominent figures in the Axie Infinity community stopped uploading for 4 months. he suddenly gets a payment for 1.5 Ethereum and does an interview of Jiho's, one of the core team members that we mentioned earlier. So you tell me what that looks like. I mean, to me, that looks pretty clear cut. And I don't think it's necessarily an issue if it was transparent. You know, I totally understand doing brand deals, all that. I think one of the problems is, and a lot of people are realizing this, and that's where that Axie maximalist label comes in, is that there's people that will never say anything bad about Axie Infinity. And I'm going to be releasing a video soon with that information, but there is confirmed transactions of some of those people being paid by the team. So yeah, hopefully that answers that point.
Yeah, that's pretty prominent. Before Clone X came out, there was a bunch of Nike employees on Twitter that was they tracked their wallets and they scooped up all the artifact, the original ones, because they knew that they were going to be acquired by Nike. It was pretty interesting. It's just a very wild west space right now, NFTs in general.
Yeah.
So not just Axies, like everything. It's everything.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It happens everywhere. And there's definitely, like I said, there's a fair spot for it where you do a content creator collaboration for a promotion. I totally get that. And I don't have any problem with that if it's disclosed. I think the problem is you have some of these content creators, and like you said, it's not just Axie, it's everywhere, who are coming out and they're saying, I'm not paid by Axie Infinity, or I'm not paid by the Clone X team, or whatever it is. But at the same time, they are actually paid. And I think that's the problem is the line there. And that's where, again, I want to come in and provide that transparency.
So the only big major player that I think stepping into this game is, I'm sure you heard of it, Cypher. And they've raised like 40 million in token sales. So they just launched their tokens. I wasn't able to participate because I'm in the United States, which sucks because I hold their Genesis NFTs as well. What's your thoughts on new games coming out? If there's any ones that we should keep a lookout for, and if there's any on your radar that you would like to share?
Yeah, so let me actually pull up one set real quick for you guys to see.
Oh, I just did a video about, well, not this, but yeah, I heard about Gala.
Okay, yeah, Gala is going to be huge.
Walking Dead, wow.
Yeah, so they got a Walking Dead partnership. Mirandus is one that I'm very bullish on. It's like a MMO World of Warcraft kind of concept with the full player run economy. You have a couple other ones. You have Spider Tanks, which is kind of more like a MOBA where you go in and your little team of tanks battles other team of tanks. You got Townstar, which is like a farming simulator. Fortified, which is like a balloon tower defense kind of a game. But they have a lot of games. They're actually working with a couple other bigger game studios to help publish games. So right now, Gala Games is huge on my radar. I'm interested in buying Gala Games nodes, some more tokens, some of that kind of stuff for Gala, because I think this is going to be huge going forward. My big thing now, especially now that you have some AAA companies getting into the space, is I think what people got to be careful of is making sure that it's a quality game. So there's a lot of them right now. There's like, what is it called? Doge Crush or something like that. It's like a Candy Crush copycat for Doge. And it's just, it's like, okay, maybe as a very, very niche, fun little game, I could understand it. But there's a lot of people out there who are saying this is going to be the next Call of Duty kind of level game or next Candy Crush with billions of dollars of revenue. And it's like, no, Doge Crush with garbage graphics that was put together in a couple days is not going to be a multi-billion-dollar game. And so I think the important thing to understand is with these AAA game studios, $100 million plus budgets coming into the space, we got to be very selective around what games are we actually getting into, what are we investing in, things like that.
So is Gala Games, are they in the gaming world already, or is this something that's just specific to NFTs?
So they have a couple of their core team that's actually been somewhat big in the gaming world before. They had Michael McCarthy, and he was one of the lead game designers, I believe was his role, for one of the Fallout games, one of the original Fallout games. So he's been a part of quite a few other big games. That's one of the more noticeable titles of the Fallout series. But he's been one of the lead developers, lead game designers for quite a few different big games. So he has a lot of game experience. And that's something that, again, is unique about Gala, and I think is important, is they're coming in with that AAA approach, the high quality games, all that stuff that's going to help set them apart and help them stay around for a very long time.
Is Gala running their own blockchain? Because you talked about nodes.
Gala, I believe, so I'm still trying to get a little bit more information on the technicalities. They have their own token, but I don't think they have a whole chain right now. I think it's all Ethereum backed.
Definitely some I want to keep. I've heard Gala even before this interview. People mentioning me about Gala nodes, and I'm like, what are you talking about? But now I'm going to take a deeper look into it, and maybe I'll do a feature on my channel as well. Uh, I know you mentioned as kind of like a last topic about metaverse. You know that the words thrown around a lot. And personally, I'm not sure if I'm just me, but anything I see for remote control, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait until I can put on some goggles and really experience metaverse. Like, how do you see gaming or PTE? How do you think that kind of melds together? How far away is that? And how can that? And you mentioned how is it going to be a part of everyone's life?
The metaverse, I think, is going to take longer to get to where people think. So people think of like Ready Player One or some of the movie type recreations where you just put on your goggles and your gloves, or you get plugged into this machine and you're pulled into like a matrix kind of a thing. I don't think we're going to have that fully adopted for quite a while. One of the big things is cost barrier. And I think, again, going back to Axie, that's one thing that's awesome about Axie is $200 smartphone or $200 device, $200 phone, and you could play Axie. You don't need a full setup with VR, nice computer, all this crazy stuff that's required for some of that more futuristic type metaverse. So the way I see metaverse going is Axie is kind of the early stage of what I would say would be the metaverse. Is right now there's actually stores in the Philippines where you could go, you could take your SLP, that cryptocurrency you're earning, you can go to a store, you can transfer from your crypto wallet to their wallet and buy a drink at a store.
No way.
Yeah, you could buy
That's
candy. There's a couple
crazy.
candy shops. There's some a general store type concepts that are accepting cryptocurrency in the form of SLP. I think that's going to be the first iteration, a very basic iteration of metaverse is I'm able to earn money playing a game, being involved in the metaverse, and then I can spend that money to pay for food, drink, some of those basic things. And then eventually you'll be able to pay your rent and some more advanced things through the cryptocurrency. But I see that being the next 3 years probably is going to be a very basic version, something very similar to that, where maybe I play Mirandus right here and I earn some tokens of Mirandus. I play it, but then I'm able to go and buy, I don't know, Chipotle with my Mirandus tokens, something like that.
Okay, so I just have a crazy thought. I mean, I thought if Axie Infinity is watching this, take some of your $2 billion, and I think it would be great to create not a metaverse, a real like Axie land in the Philippines. I have a ton of Filipino relatives, some of them in real estate development, to have a kind of like a beacon for the Philippines. Now that you mentioned they're taking SLPs for drinks, I think it'll be a no-brainer for them to have Axie Infinity land in the Philippines. It'll draw a lot of tourism, be great for the space. It's just a far off thought, but that's the first thing I thought of when you said you could start buying, things with SLP, because that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you know what? You're actually on the right track. They've already talked about that in a couple of interviews of building out a small Axie town, a town centered and themed around Axie Infinity, where you could buy anything in the town with the cryptocurrency. So, I mean, it's coming. They've talked about it. They've talked about allocating funds for it. It's just a matter of how far away it is. So I definitely think you're thinking on the right track right there. And I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, like, I mean, you're in a gaming world, so I mean, I personally think Southeast Asia is leaps and leaps ahead of US in terms of adopting crypto and gaming. South Korea has been just absolutely on a tear in terms of, not just gaming, but just everything in this planet. They've adopted the metaverse. They're already doing town halls in the metaverse where old people can come vote. So yeah, I think that, having that draw there and just having, the economy there is so helpful. I mean, they might be creating like an NFT Silicon Valley, 2.0 over there. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And the metaverse is really just in its simplest form is blurring the lines between the digital world and the real world, where you can transfer between the two. And that's exactly that example of Axie of I could play a video game, play Axie Infinity with my crypto assets, and then go buy myself a boba tea, buy myself a bag of chips, something like that. I can actually take that and translate it between the two. And the lines are a little bit blurred. Whereas traditionally it's I'm sitting down, I'm playing Call of Duty. I'm sitting down, I'm playing a farm simulator, and there's no transaction between the two, the real and the digital.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would love to get back into gaming. I was such an avid gamer when I was young, and I've just that has taken a back seat. So I can see like a lot of youthfulness bringing back to people like myself, into the gaming space. One of the games I love was Lemonade Stand.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and if I could
I
make
remember
real
that
money,
actually.
real tokens with that, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I remember that game actually. That's funny that you mentioned that.
Great. Well, actually, I think that's all I had on my side, unless there's anything else you wanted to cover on Axie or anything else.
I think that's all I had. I guess the question for you is, when are you going to be buying some Axies now?
Yeah, I think I will do it. I would have to do it. I do. This is my excuse for my degeneracy. Is
Mm.
just YouTube content. That's my excuse. I'm like, oh, I'm doing for YouTube content. So when the
Oh,
fiance asked, like, why are you buying so many NFTs? I'm like, it's for YouTube content. So
yeah,
one of
it's a
these
tax
days,
write-off.
is it?
Yeah, you could use it as a tax write-off, business expense. You're doing it for your YouTube videos. You lose a little money. It's all good.
No, it's actually very true. Aside before my life as a financial YouTuber, I have a K-pop channel, and then we bought some concert tickets. I'm like, oh, this is a tax. This is an excuse to spend a lot of money on concert tickets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, Asob, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the channel. I think we're gonna have you on again as I get more into Axie. I mean, you got me. I'll spend $600 on Axie team and just to play around with it because I think it's important. It's like the lines were blurred, right? You like before I didn't even know you could buy stuff with SLPs because that's life changing for some people. And just to see that kind of like extrapolated across like even different types of games and countries, I mean, it's just gonna be my mind's blown from this interview.
Well, I appreciate that. I'd be welcome to teach you more, talk about it more, learn, help you learn more about what's to come with this feature. Because I do personally believe that this concept is going to be the future of gaming, and I think it's really going to change the world. So,
Absolutely, man. Well, we look forward to your channel covering it all because mine's not going to be gaming focused, but I'm interested to see where we end up end of 2022. And then 2021 has been a whirlwind, right? I think for both of us, but
oh yeah,
I think we both can speak and say that it's only the beginning and 2022 is going to be absolutely nuts.
I agree 100%. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing you in Axie then, and I'll help teach you a couple things if you want. So,
Awesome. So I'll put all your links down below. People can follow you and then we'll get you back on, another time as well.
awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on and chatting, and I look forward to chatting again sometime.
Are we going to turn into a gaming channel? Well, you know what? If that's where the money is, because this channel is all about retiring early. But all jokes aside, I'm definitely going to look into Gala, Decentraland, Sandbox. He made a good point. Gaming is already real life utility, meaning people do it already. They do it for free. That's another point that he made. People spend $600 on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Wii, and they do it for free. They play for free. They do it already. That's a point that that did it. He kept on saying it during the video, but I never got it. So it definitely makes sense that if you can make money for it, these games are definitely going to fit into the NFT universe or vice versa. NFT fit into their universe, like just a perfect fit because it's going to help everyone. It's a win-win-win. I don't know, guys. My mind is blown from an interview. There's a lot of things I need to reassess in my life right now. I might become just a pro NFT gamer. Real Talk Fire game, Real Talk Fire multi-metaverse. Okay, whatever. Just subscribe, follow along. I'll see you next one. Stay healthy, stay fire. Peace.